Football is back.
Football is back.
Especially for University of Michigan as well as MSU, Michigan State University, the Wolverines and the Spartans. And they both got some dubs this weekend. I don't know how happy either fan base is right now with those wins, but I do believe that there are some good things to take away as well as some criticisms, Flannel Sam. Just your kind of first reaction from the weekend of college football as well as a more center focus on University of Michigan.
Well, I would say for Michigan and their offense, everything that you think was a question mark is still a question mark, unfortunately. We found out that Davis Warren was the starter. Which,
we want orgies.
Well, I don't know about that because the one time that Alex Orji had a chance for a rollout throw, he had a wide open Tyler Morris and skipped it in the dirt. So
I feel you, but he did have a touchdown. That's all I'm saying.
That was the easiest I could have made that throw.
I'm just saying, it's a touchdown. It's a touchdown.
That's neither here nor there. But no, Davis Warren, he ended up being the starter, and he's a walk-on. I have to give credit to a Twitter account that I think is really good and a podcast that's really good, Michigan Podcast, because I didn't think of this, but he actually I actually saw this on his Twitter or X account. Davis Warren, when you watch him play, he kind of reminds you of a Nick Sheridan type or a poor man's Cade McNamara. He made some nice throws over the middle when they were kind of spoon-fed to him. He used Colston Loveland effectively, which when you have the best tight end in the country, you might as well do that. But when you look at his numbers when you throw it in the middle between 0 to 10 yards, that's where he did the majority of his work. And to his credit, he was able to hit Colston Loveland on some easy throws. But when Davis Warren tried to air it out a little bit, his first throw of the game, his really first difficult throw of the game, it was a deep ball to Frederick Moore that he badly underthrew that ended up being intercepted. From 0 to 10 yards, he was 1 for 5, 10 yards, 0 touchdown, 1 pick. It was certainly mixed results, I would say, and there's definitely nothing special about a Davis Warren. We just hope that he is average and serviceable. The offensive line, I thought, was more good than bad, personally. I know Greg Crippen, when he had to when he played some center, he was getting absolutely killed. Evan Link wasn't very good. I thought Miles Hitton and Josh Preby were. Gio got beat for a sack. The run blocking, I mean, I will say this. Khalil Mullings and Alex Orji didn't have trouble getting yards. They didn't have trouble getting chunk plays on the ground, but Donovan Edwards did. So the run game, the run blocking, I thought it was more okay than good. I thought Donovan Edwards on a couple was more the victim of not having anywhere to go. I know they tried an end around with him where he didn't have anywhere to go. They tried a swing pass. He didn't have anywhere to go. And Donovan Edwards, of course, on his longest run of the game, it gets called back by a holding penalty. And then when you look at the receiving core, it was Colston Loveland and then nobody else. Colston Loveland literally accounted for like 80% of the receiving yards by himself. I mean, Tyler Morris didn't do much. Samaj didn't do much. The point with all of that is we were worried about the quarterback play. We were worried about Donovan Edwards. We were worried about the O-line. We were worried about the wide receiver core. And we're still pretty worried. Not going to lie.
Yeah. Do you think Colston Loveland played fantastic? The clear bright spot on that offensive team. Is that because Colston Loveland's so good, or does that have to do with Davis Warren not getting to his second and third reads? That's what a lot of people have been talking about. And for the most part, they're right. Saw his first read and tried to force it there. With Colston Loveland, you might as well force it, but is that a problem? Is that what was happening?
Oh, I mean, yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course it's a problem not being a one-read quarterback. However, when your one read is Colston Loveland, when you talk about a big target, just a big, reliable target, there's really not many people in the nation that are better for a limited quarterback than a Davis Warren. And to Davis Warren's credit, he did hit Colston Loveland for the most part almost every time down the middle when he needed to, including one in which Colston had a bit of a catch and run for a touchdown that really sealed the game. So, yeah, if Colston Loveland wasn't there, I would say Davis Warren would look even worse and Michigan would be really screwed. But that's where the future John Mackey Award-winning tight end and future top 15 pick, he's got to earn that, and he certainly did on Saturday.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen players like this kind of make a difference, man, when you're talking about Colston Loveland. We already know that there's going to be questions for this team as it relates to the quarterback position. But the thing that kind of makes me a little bit more encouraged is this. It's not like they play any type of preseason football. There's a lot of, and KG, you said it to me right in the first segment, there's a lot of sloppy football. I think we're going to have these types of questions with the quarterbacks for at least half the season while these guys are getting used to being the actual starting quarterback of Michigan football with expectations after a national championship season. So I'm going to be a little bit more patient with them. But I do believe when you look at University of Michigan winning this game 30-10 over Fresno, a squad that won 9 games last season. It's not like, it's a pushover. I got to be honest, I don't know quite what their changeover was from last season. But I don't believe that when you look at some of these other ranked teams that went down this weekend, and I was hearing from some of my family, some of my friends, some of my Spartan people, that they thought Michigan was going to be one of these types of teams this weekend that had a chance to go down. I just didn't think that, because I do believe when you look at the top talent on this team, they carry that moxie and that swag that I think we saw show up in the biggest spots. When you're talking about Loveland, when you're talking about Will Johnson, that's what this team is going to have to depend on all season. But that running game is the one thing, to me, that's the biggest question over what we saw the quarterbacks do or not do.
But here's the thing about the running game. Khalil Mullings looked great. And I'm not saying that Khalil Mullings should for sure be RB1, but there's just something about his running style that I think really fits this Michigan offense. It's just he runs north and south. He sees the holes and he's decisive, and he always carries defenders an extra 2 or 3 yards. I mean, Khalil Mullings, low-key, is like 6'2", 235. A big, huge man, former linebacker that nobody wants to tackle. And when you saw Fresno State cut it to 6 in the fourth quarter, that drive in which they scored the touchdown that really kind of sealed the game, Khalil Mullings had a stretch where he had 3 carries for 42 yards. He had a 21-yarder, a 15-yarder, a 6-yarder, back to back to back, that just basically took the hearts of Fresno State. And that's the type of stuff you've seen from Khalil Mullings this year and even a bit last year that you never really saw from a Donovan Edwards. Donovan Edwards, even when he was really good in 2022, he's more built on 1 or 2 like big runs. When you think of Donovan Edwards' best games, they're always highlighted by big runs, but he doesn't get those consistent chunk yards like a Khalil Mullings. And also Alex Orji on the read option, he was getting his rushing yards as well. So that's why I said too that the run blocking, it wasn't perfect, but I think it was okay enough, and it certainly worked for Khalil Mullings and Alex Orji. So I'm not super worried about it, but as far as Donovan Edwards being RB1, I don't know about that. I am worried about that.
And that's what I was saying as it relates to the question. It was like we entered the season believing that Donovan Edwards was primed to take over and absolutely shine.
Yeah.
We thought he was going to star, not just kind of be somebody serviceable, but star. And so that's where the questions come in for me. I personally, you're not going to scoff at the fact that they get up almost 150 rushing yards. Mm-hmm. And these are the types of things, though, that like I keep saying, make me optimistic about University of Michigan. Can they run? And is that defense going to be fierce and nasty? When these two things kind of hit the paces, that's what Michigan football is. Who are you going to be in those trenches, and can you find a way, Sharon Moore, to coach this team up over the year? We all know it's about the development. You got Texas rolling into town. Yeah. And to Chase's point, that's not going to be a game like Fresno at all. It's a squad that's coming in that I do believe is going to push University of Michigan completely to the limit.
Yeah, and the good news, too, is that you look at Michigan, we all know that they have a lot of high-end talent. And late in the game, I mean, who scored the touchdown to make it 23-10? It was Colston Loveland. Who got the big pick 6? It was Will Johnson.
Yep.
And Will Johnson himself, and I will admit it, I'm a Will Johnson stan. I thought he was going to be, Sauce Gardner and a college football version this year. He didn't have his best day. He got beat a couple more times than I would like. It looked like, especially on the first one, that he was really craving and chasing that interception and probably should have just tried to mark his guy a little bit more. But when he made that break on that wide receiver screen at the end of the game, that was special, man. And he was just gone. It was an amazing moment in the game, and it happened after one Michigan interception was overturned and one was called back, the Makari Page interception on that terrible roughing the passer call on TJ Guy. So it was the perfect ball don't lie moment. That Will Johnson pick 6, I screamed like an MFing demon. I think my wife was scared of me.
I'm trying to figure out. Screaming like a demon. I'm trying to figure out why he was off the field at all ever for any single play. Were they giving some other guys some looks, to get prepared, get some run before the Texas game, or was something off? I don't know, but he looked good. He closed the game out. But on that Mullins topic, on that running back topic, whether he's running back 1 or running back 2, I think your first and second down carries got to go to Mullins. I think I'm already there. You have to have that type of back that you described, that David Montgomery type back where even if the offensive line, which I thought struggled, they did not own the line of scrimmage on the offensive end, really not even all game on the defensive end. Mason Graham was an absolute animal still. But on the offensive end, you need that running back to at least get 3 hard yards on first down. If you're committed to the run, which we know Sharon Moore is, you got to be able to get those tough yards on first and second down, and that's Khalil Mullings.
That's what he was doing, and that's really what. If Khalil Mullings didn't play, I don't know if Michigan even wins that game. That's how important that he was, just getting those tough yards, breaking tackles, carrying defenders 3 or 4 yards. That's something that Khalil Mullings has done, even going back to last year and definitely in this game, and it's something that Donovan Edwards has never shown the ability to do. And that's okay, by the way. It's just to kind of compare Khalil Mullings and Donovan Edwards again. Donovan Edwards really is only effective when he breaks 1 or 2, and Khalil Mullings will get you like 6 yards, 4 yards, 21 yards, 15, 10. And just, who wants to tackle that man?
Nobody
does. He's huge. And he's, I think, faster than you think. He's a little bit shiftier between the tackles than you think. And he just runs hard and with a purpose. And that's what Michigan offenses have been built upon when they're good. You know what he looked like out there? He looked like Hassan Haskins. That's what he reminded me of. I'm not saying he's as good as Hassan Haskins, but if you are one of those people that says Khalil Mullings should be the undisputed RB1, I'm not going to fight you on that. I know Donovan Edwards is going to get his carries, but he definitely, Edwards has to maximize those carries a little bit more if he wants the bulk of the load, because I think it's Khalil Mullings moving forward.
I agree 100% with you guys. When you know that you have a back that can go out there and punch the other team in the mouth for 3 to 4 yards every single carry, you got to go with that, especially in your first and your second downs for a Michigan team who I believe they can tread water with the quarterbacks that they have right now, but you got to have that running game that can absolutely churn out those 3 and 4 yard first downs, as well as convert in those 3rd and shorts. That's where a guy like Khalil, like you guys are talking about right now, comes into play. And I'm hoping with Donovan Edwards that they find the best way to kind of put him in space, to take advantage of the fact that we know he could break one. I was a little bit disappointed to see that these quarterbacks didn't really put him in a position to even catch any out of the backfield, really. I think a couple targets maybe, but that's something that I'm hoping maybe they're going vanilla early in the season, and that you kind of save some of these other plays, because you got Texas. This is no longer the old Big Ten where you know you can kind of coast through your first 2-3 games, and all of a sudden you open things up. I'm hoping they find a way to take advantage of the type of skill set that we know Donovan Edwards possesses.
I mean, we'll see.
Put him in the slot.
Yeah, but with Davis Warren as your quarterback, is Colston Loveland going to have 70% of the receiving yards this season? And I'm not attacking Davis Warren or anything. He's a walk-on. He's extremely, extremely limited. He's a one-read quarterback. When you spoon feed him throws, he can make them. And he made one to Samaj Morgan for a first down to give him a little bit of credit. He made one to Tyler Morris as well. But is Donovan Edwards going to be involved in the passing game? Is anybody besides for Colston Loveland? I'm not exactly sure. I know if they're going to beat Texas or Oregon or Ohio State, they're going to have to, I would say, diversify the offense a little bit. But maybe that comes with time. It's just Davis Warren. I don't think he's the answer, but I don't know what you do.
That's what I'm hoping. At least Donovan Edwards can be a check down back. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm like, okay, if you're one of those types of quarterbacks that has to just come in and manage the game, like when you talk about game manager, and I know there's many different kind of definitions to that, but a guy who can just come in, please minimize your mistakes, get it to your number one target, and check down. I got to know that these quarterbacks can at least check down. When you talk about Denard Robinson, who was not the best arm talent.
No.
but the IQ, the decision-making, I actually thought that he was really good in those departments, and he utilized his skill set to honestly overcome the fact that he was not the best arm talent. I'm hoping with an Alex Orji, as the season goes on and they learn a little bit more about who this guy is in game, that they can find ways to take the best advantage of this guy's skill sets. His legs are dynamic.
They are. All I know is that, and I'm not writing the obituary on Alex Orji, I promise, but not being able to beat out Davis Warren definitively, that's the truth.
It's
very concerning. Davis Warren, and like I said, not attacking the guy. He can be serviceable if everything around him is good. I mean, Colston Loveland is a nice piece around him. When the offensive line is giving him time, he looks fine. But if you were to give his ratings on NCAA, he'd be like 65 at everything. And Alex Orji at least has a bit of a dynamic skill set with his legs. It's just you saw when the one time they let him throw on a rollout, he put it in the dirt. Tyler Morris was open. And we're used to seeing J.J. McCarthy make those kind of throws. So watching Alex Orji just basically like skip one was it was concerning. And I was in the stands being like, now I see why this guy didn't start. Because around me in the stands, everybody was clamoring for Orji. But then after that throw, I kind of sensed like I get it now.
It's like if Hendon Hooker didn't beat out Nate Sudfeld.
Yeah.
Like, it's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a problem, Kool-Aid.
Yeah, it is. But you know what? I just saw it in the chat. I'm sorry. I didn't remember the name. I think it might have been Mike G who pointed this out, though. Michigan only allowed 9 yards rushing.
Yeah, I feel like we got to give
defense.
Yeah, oh yeah, we definitely have to give the flowers to Michigan's defense. I thought Josiah Stewart had a hell of a game.
Yes.
Derek Moore as well. Those pass rushers were just hounding the quarterback all day. Stewart had a couple of sacks. Oh, defense, absolutely not. And Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, they didn't have their best day, but they're going to be better moving forward, and they're going to need to be better against Texas. But the defense, I have no worries about it. They gave up a few more plays in the passing game than I would have liked, but Michigan also couldn't sustain drives. And I think Will Johnson learned that it's probably better to just mark your man than try to get interceptions. And he got that pick 6 at the end, but he was also burned a couple of times. I don't think that's going to happen again. Not worried about the defense.
Go Blue. In the chat says everyone in the stands was clamoring for an orgy.
They were.
Pause.
There was this annoying little kid behind me too that was just screaming, "We want orgy!" like every 5 seconds. To smack a kid in the face. Jesus.
Taking Flannel back to his substitute
I'm so
days.
glad we have him on the desk rather than in the classroom right now, man.
Yes.